Welcome to all on Women Dialogues. And I'm your host Shashi with you all to create more voice for women and by women. And today's our guest from Zambia, Chulu. She is the founder of Africana Woman and her work with African women to break the culture of silence and nurture a positive relation with their roots. So she does a lot of work for women. She does podcasts. She has her own blog and a lot of many other things. She has lots of stories to tell us, to inspire and motivate us. And same time, she has her own life journey, how she has created, what way she has become the way she is today. She's a very popular person. So let's welcome Chulu on our platform and hear from her what's her life journey is all about. So welcome Chulu on this platform.
Thank you, Dr. Sheshi. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm very honored. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chulu, for finding time and being with us. It's a great pleasure to be with you as well. So let's start as I was talking about your life journey. So let's start talking about your childhood. How was your childhood? How you grew up? What kind of environment? What kind of ups and downs you have seen? And what way they help you in your further journey?
Yeah. So I'm from Zambia, which is basically Central Africa. It's kind of the top part of what we call Southern Africa, if you're not sure of it geographically. And I was born here and I've been raised here. And I grew up with a single mother. So I didn't grow up with my father, and he was not active in my life. And I pretty much stayed in, I guess, one town for pretty much from when I was very young until I finished high school. I went to I started off with a private school, then I went to a boarding school, two very different experiences. The boarding school that I went to was an all-girls school, and it was also run by the Catholic Church. So it was very, very stringent and, a lot of rules and all of that. But I think one of the things that definitely defined what I always say is that I've always been an entrepreneur from when I was very young. I remember when I was in primary school, and I loved to read books. And one of the things that I used to do was to rent out my books to my friends. And that was probably like in grade 6 or something, until my mother found out and she made me give the money back. I was quite disappointed. But even when we went to high school and it was a boarding school, I'm so sorry. We went to high school and it was a boarding school. You know, you take a certain amount of tuck to school, but then it runs out at a certain point. So I used to come in as the supplier of, sweet, nice things. I'm also very artistic. So I used to make pictures and paintings that people would buy, and they would gift it to their families and their friends and their loved ones. So it's always been something in me where I know that, I don't know, I always gravitate that way. And I'm always like, oh, okay, so how can I make this little business, or, or those types of thoughts. So I think that's one of the things that I remember from my childhood.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to hear about how your entrepreneurship skills has developed and how you took the lead further. So when we are moving ahead, how those skills help you as you are founder of Africana Women today. So do you find these skills which you gain in your childhood in your maybe fun way, but did they help you?
Oh, absolutely. The thing is, I'm somebody who has so many interests. And even when you look at my career path, when I studied for university, I studied architectural studies. However, the first job that I got when I came out of university was public relations and fundraising. So, very, very different. And then I went on to work for an advertising agency as I was a receptionist, and then I became an office manager in a mining related company, and then I was a hotel manager. And then, I've organized events. So again, back to public relations. So, I find that as somebody who has been through different types of jobs, different types of industries, it really gives me a rich, I guess, background on how I can then infuse that in my business. So as you mentioned, I have a new business, which is called Africana Woman, and
Right.
I'm so excited about it. Africana Woman is basically a wellness and wealth lifestyle brand for women of African descent. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can still tap in and be enriched by what we offer. We have a podcast, we have a blog, and we also have a community which is for entrepreneurs and founders of African descent. So one of the things, when you look at my background, as an office manager, I was actually an office manager for a startup company. So I already know what it means to, set up the systems for a startup. As a hotel manager, I was, heavily involved with customer service. So when I have this new business, when I'm conversating with the women that I engage with, or even when I'm talking on the podcast, they feel the warmth that comes from me, because that's something that I've honed in my different experiences. So I think having all those multiple experiences, I think, my family was probably concerned and thinking, oh my God, she's like all over the place. But I feel that all of those things brought in a richness and a wealth to what I'm working on now.
Right. Yeah, that sounds interesting. As you mentioned, like having different experiences and different industries, but same time, how those all experiences and in different industries helping you to form or establish your own foundation, your own brand. So when we are coming back on Africana Women, which you bring women from all over the places, all over the world, what exactly the work is all about, how it goes, how our listeners and audience or our viewers can get benefit of from that as well.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we talk extensively about
Right.
is how our culture, because I feel like in the wellness space, a lot of the brands that are there are very centered around Western cultures, right? And they don't necessarily take in an African culture. And I know even Asian and African cultures are sort of similar, because it's very much about the community, and
Right.
it's very much about, a lot of what we do is to
Right.
benefit the community, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the Western society, it's more individualistic. So, a brand will be telling you things like, oh, you should create boundaries with your family and things like that. And you're thinking, what do you mean create boundaries with my family? Like, they won't understand.
Right.
So in the Africa, I really felt strongly that it was important for us to address our health and our wellness and our well-being
Yeah.
from an African perspective, to really look at our culture and give it an audit of sorts, so that as an individual, you can say, okay, this is what can work for me. And I know the conversations I'm having are because someone understands what my culture is and the type
Right.
of background I'm coming from, and not just, oh, this is just how we do it. So it should work for you, like
Yeah.
a copy and paste. But it's
Right.
not exactly like that. There's nuances to the way that we are brought up, the types of relationships that we have with our parents, and even, just the society at large. So
Right.
on the podcast, we have in-depth conversations about, you know, different aspects of a woman's life and how it is affected by our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the blog, I like to say that it is an invitation to meet your soul, because
Right.
you will be challenged to think deeper about why you actually do what you do. Because a lot of times in our culture, we're almost on automatic, you know. And even when, if you remember as a child, you'd say, "Oh, like mom, why are we doing this?" And it's just be like, "Oh, that's how it's always been done." But does it
Right.
really serve you, you know? So we
Mm-hmm.
want you to take a deeper look into why do you actually do what you do? Why
Mm-hmm.
is your culture saying that this is the way it should be done? And we're not saying that, oh, throw away everything. We just want you to be more conscious and aware of
Right.
like an understanding the reasoning behind it. I feel that, you know, culture is something that is very dynamic, and it evolves and it changes over time, but the problem is we don't actually talk about it enough.
Right.
And because we don't talk about it, then we are not able to say, okay, this is something that worked maybe in the 1960s, in the 1800s, but it may not apply right now. So how do we make it more applicable for our lives
Mm-hmm.
um and still, you know, embrace the beautiful things and the beneficial things about our culture? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, as you said, this is so true, and I think very important issue you are bringing here about cultural learning, knowledge, and how you can embrace your culture while having these generations of differences through the development, through a lot of growth. So when we are talking about it, it's very important as you are sharing about cultural learning and their perspective with this. Finding out why it is something, why we are practicing something in this manner, or why we should modify in this manner. So when we are talking about it, would you like to bring some maybe some stories or some moments where you find, okay, there was a moment like somebody was not aware, or they were just practicing, but later they acknowledge and they embrace in a more deeply manner, or they modified.
Let's see. Well, I think one of the things that comes off the top of my head is we had a, well, last year when I was just starting out, actually, I put out a challenge, and I said, you know, in our culture we haven't necessarily like, if you're my age, I'm around 36 years old. So, you know,
Right.
you're let's say early 40s, early, you know, and your 30s. Our parents didn't necessarily say, I love you,
Mm.
right? And you
Mhm.
didn't actually hear those words.
Mhm.
And, you know, I put out a challenge, and I said,
Right.
you know, the challenge was make a video and tell your parents, I just say, mommy, I love you, daddy, I love you. And I had
Right.
sent it to a couple of friends, and one particular person got back to me, and she said, are you crazy? I can never say that to my parents. That is so, it'll be so strange, so uncomfortable. I have never heard those words. Like, she just was so uncomfortable with actually thinking, or even just the thought of those words
Right.
coming out of her mouth, you know.
Right.
And so I also have retreats and other events like that, which she did participate in. And so the challenge was around April of 2020. And in December, she sent me a message, and she said, oh, have you seen my social media story? And I was like, no,
Right.
I haven't yet seen it, but tell me what it's about. And she says, oh, I've posted this a picture of my father and my mom, and I posted that I love you, and I tell them that I love you, and it just feels so comfortable. I just feel so relieved and so happy that I can actually say those words, and they know how I feel about them, and I can just hug them, you know, and have that physical contact with them, where
Mhm.
before it just, that wasn't like an option.
Right.
So for me, that was really, I really loved that particular story. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the same way. I think that spread out the purpose, at the same time the message which you was trying to create, and in terms of learning, and in terms of embracing your own culture, but same time maybe redefining or modifying, as you mentioned earlier. So yes, that's a beautiful story. Moving ahead, when we are talking about uh, cultural acknowledgement, cultural learning, cultural aspects of particular person, how they can develop. Because in current scenario, when we are talking about, you mentioned the Western culture and all, and nowadays everywhere, social media, lots of,
Mm.
you have access of all kind of things. So how one can learn, or how one can understand what is right way to understand or learn, or how to avoid other aspects.
I think with anything, you must take the information. You must be critical of the information. So not just seeing that, oh, it's on YouTube or it's on whatever platform it is, and oh, it must be the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel that you have to be able to critically look at whatever you're being informed about, and
Right.
then be able to say, okay, is this something that will add to my life? And then how can I apply it? And how can I involve the other people that are in my life? Right. So, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm a very big advocate for is therapy. And an African culture tells, we've got this stereotype about therapy being, oh, that's just for white people, or that's not what we do in our culture. You just have to suck up all the emotions, and you don't talk about these things, and all of those things. But for me, who is also a Christian, right, I know that the Bible says the truth will set you free. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it also says confess confess to one another. So that
Mm-hmm.
in itself implies that you should have conversations with one another, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I have been through different experiences that have made me comfortable with doing therapy. And, when I suggested this to my family, it was, oh my God, we don't do that. We don't talk about that. It was, the reaction was just it was like 1 to 0.
Right.
But, it has been a sense, it has been, okay, let's try and experiment. Like, you can try
Right.
the session, you can contribute to the
Yeah.
conversation, you can, you don't have to answer all the questions. If you feel threatened, you can withdraw. So it's getting the people around you also to the same comfortability level as you
Mm-hmm.
are, and it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. I think one of the things that people also get disappointed with is, because you've found out some information which you believe has completely transformed your life, has changed you, and you want everybody else to do it and know it, but they're on their own journey, they're on their own paths. So you
Right.
cannot just assume that because it worked for you, it's immediately going to work for them. So you
Right.
have to let them, you know, get to their own comfortability, and let them reach that part of their journey in their own time. So I think that's, those are some of the things that we should be considering when we're exposed to all these different ways of doing things.
Right. That's a beautiful way to explain, I think, and bringing out the different aspect of awareness, and same time learning through your own acceptance and consciously therapy and all. Bringing your back to Africana women, how you find it is helping women in terms of developing same aspect which we are talking about, cultural embracement, cultural acknowledgement, and all sort of things.
Mm. I think one of the one thing that I'm very, very proud of is, again, stereotypes. Like, stereotypes, I just don't like them. There's the stereotype that women can't work together, women can't support each other. you know. And one of the things that we constantly hear feedback from, especially in the Africana Woman visionaries, is that, you know, it's such a different atmosphere, different feeling, because there is a genuine desire for, you know, we want you to be the best version of yourself. And it's authentic, and we support you, we cheer you on, we will, you know, give you, you know, expose you to all these different types of resources, because we want the best for you. So it's a space where you can let your guard down, because I feel that a lot of times we go into spaces like when it's let's say a women's forum, right? Whether it's an organization, a club, whatever, we go in there with a mask on. So, you know, it's already, oh, we've done our hair, you know, you put all that makeup on your face and you go in with your war mask, your war face on, you know what I mean? And in the Africana Woman space, people genuinely feel that they're able to be authentic, to let their guard down, and they will not be judged, you know. So when we were having conversations in December, and we're doing an audit of our businesses, right? You know, we literally just said 2020 has been so difficult, especially with, you know, businesses being shut down, countries being on lockdown, and the impact that it had on individuals, to say that, you know, my business was closed for so many months. I couldn't pay my staff. I could not, I had to let my staff go, and not even knowing what's going to happen to them after that. And just the emotional toll that it's taken on me. You know, those are the types of conversations that we're having, that were so real and authentic, and people did not feel that they had to pretend to be somebody else, that they had to pretend about the experiences were softer than they were. They just told their true story, you know. So I think that's one of the things that I have personally seen that women truly appreciate about the work that we're doing. They feel that they can be authentic and true in our spaces.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. As you said, they can be authentic and the way they are, and they can be true to themselves, bringing to their authenticity and African culture of togetherness as a family, as a, you mentioned earlier. How you find in current scenario in this pandemic and global pandemic, you mentioned some of your example by losing, you know, they are losing their work, job, how it is helpful, how the way it is creating maybe some kind of support system for them, or what way it is helpful
in the Africana woman community, or are you just talking at
in
large?
general when we are talking about the our culture, the African culture, our togetherness, having family as a, yes, there is no concept of individuality. So how you find the bringing that culture, and same time you are sharing about this Africana women also having same kind of concept, being together, being real, being you know, authentic, how it helps, how it all the way bringing those aspect is helping women or
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that has been more, I guess, evident in war, I think one of the things that we've seen in this period where we've been living with COVID is that people have really come together as families. They've really, you know, bonded together, because if you're not able to go out with your friends, then the natural people that you're going to spend more time with is your family. And, you know, I think, anyway, I feel like a lot of people have said it in different ways, but it's also been a blessing in disguise, because now you are spending more time with your kids. You know, the kids maybe get to spend more time with their grandparents. And, you know, I think people are also becoming more intentional about what it actually means to to be with each other. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we've gotten into this habit where we're distracted and by all these noisy things. So whether it's your phone, your tablets, all these devices, and we can be in a space, everybody's on their phone, you know what I mean? And
Right.
no one's actually conversating with each other. But I
Yeah.
think people have become more intentional about what does it mean for us to spend time together, to be a family unit. And it's brought us back to
Yeah.
that time and space, you know? So I
Yeah.
think that's been one of the more positive things that have
Mm-hmm.
happened in the pandemic, because, you know, you're spending time with your family, you say, okay, let us cook together. So you're making all these different projects because you want
Right.
to, you know, entertain the kids. And it's just brought more of that togetherness,
Yeah.
yeah, back, I
Yeah.
think, which has been nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's beautiful and it's very nice the way you shared that how people are connecting with their core. I believe family as a core, right? So they are rather than getting distracted with a lot of noise, lot of this as you mentioned these different kind of instrument, or you can say different maybe not necessarily those are helpful work, but many times we get engaged on those things. So yes, I believe in that way, seeing it's bringing positivity, is bringing togetherness, and spreading same way the culture as a being together, being a, with family. So that's beautiful and wonderful share, Chulu. Bringing again back on Africana women, what way would you like to people to connect with you or to get support if you would like to hear from them?
Um, Well, I think one of the things that I always appreciate is if you listen to the podcast. The podcast is Africana Woman with Chulu, and it can be found wherever you listen to your podcast. So whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, Castbox, we can go on and on. You will find it, and please share it. Share it with somebody who you think it will help. And then the blog is also africanawoman.com, and you know, these, the blog and the podcast are weekly, so we release on Thursdays and Saturdays, and you are able to subscribe. And just I think one of the things that I would truly appreciate is just for people to share and get the word out and let people know that there are these types of conversations going on. And then
Right.
for women who are entrepreneurs, who are founders of businesses, who are of African descent, it doesn't matter whether you're on the continent or you are wherever you are located in the world, you are more than welcome to come and join us. We have master classes, we have virtual mixes, and you know, as soon as things get more relaxed, we'll try and have physical events as well. And there's so
Right.
much that we're also, you know, sharing different resources for
Mm-hmm.
businesses, and ones which are particularly tailored for African businesses, you know, different
Mm-hmm.
solutions. So it's a very rich space where you can get knowledge, resources, and find like-minded women. So I truly
Wonderful,
encourage you
wonderful. I think
to
that's
come through.
beautiful. Yeah, and at the same time, we will definitely share all the links as well in the description. And moving ahead, what one message would you like to give to all our viewers and audience, especially the women?
Mm, yeah, I think the one thing that really makes me angry or makes me the most sad is when a woman believes that she doesn't have a choice, when she
Mm.
believes that she is alone and nobody can relate to her. I just
Mm.
want you to know that you always have a choice. You always have a space where you can find the help that you need. You just have to make it a possibility in your mind, because that resource will find you. As soon as you start looking, it will meet you on the way. So I think one of the things that I just want to really encourage women is to give them hope that there are people out there that can help them. There are people who have been through similar experiences, maybe not the exact same thing, but they've been through the same, you know, similar experiences, and they're able to relate. So never feel that you're alone, never feel that no one can relate. there is always a way to get help.
Wonderful. And I believe the same way audience will hear and understand they are not alone. They have always support. Just reach out to the people, reach out where you are looking for some kind of support. That's a wonderful advice. Last but not least, what way do you think the platform like Women Dialogue is important?
I think it's so important for women to speak our own stories in our own voices. I think so many times we live in a world that has been designed for men. You know, when they are experimenting on a product that's supposed to be out in the world, they only test it against a man and not necessarily against a woman. A lot of the times, you know, everything is so centered around men, and I think it's so important that this type of platform exists so as we are able to tell our own stories in our own voices and not have other people interpret what we need, what we want, and what we desire. So I really appreciate you inviting me to come and speak here and be able to let women out there know that there's such variety and such beauty in all the things that women are doing out in the world. And if we support each other, don't ever believe that women don't support each other. That is just not true. It is a lie. You need to believe that we support each other. And if we go together, we can get that much farther.
Wow, wow, wow. That's beautiful. And that's very strong pitch. I can say that you said we support each other, we believe in each other, and we work for each other development and growth, and we create these joyful and happy moments for each other. So thank you so much, Chulu, for sharing your vision, your work, your inspirational, motivational story, your childhood journey, and all together. It's such a wonderful and it's a rich experience for us. So thank you so much for being with us, for everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thanks to all our viewers who are listening and watching us to create this movement, to get inspired and motivate. And please keep sharing, keep subscribing and liking. And don't forget to check the Chulu's work as well. Her details are available in the description as well. See you in the next time. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.